Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday to you all. Thank you for taking time out of your day today to join us for this presentation about the country of Honduras. And the goal of this webinar, we'll talk about it a little bit later on here in the slide deck, but the goal is to really fill out the considerations you need to make if you are thinking of relocating or investing in a country like Honduras. So as everybody gets joined here to audio and video and all that great stuff, we have some polls throughout this presentation to get a better idea of what it is that you're looking for and what your goals are as someone who is interested in learning more about these countries. So the first poll we have here is, have you had the chance to visit or explore Honduras just yet? So I know I personally have, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit with you, but have you had the chance to visit Honduras? It's quite a large country, as you'll see here in the next couple of slides, so there's definitely a lot to do. It looks like we have about 50-50 on the line with us here today. You've been at least once or not yet, but you hope to visit soon. So very cool, guys. And again, we have several of these polls throughout the presentation. Feel free to answer the questions that you're comfortable with. Again, it just helps us gauge our audience, who is you, and really tailor our future presentations to what it is you need and are looking for. So yeah, we ended up dead smack 50-50 on the yes and not yet. So very cool. We have a little bit of a mix here on the line with us today. I am Ali Rodriguez. I am a U.S. expat from the state of Texas who moved to the region here about 4.5 years or so ago. And my love-hate relationship, and I don't really hate Honduras, but it came at a time where I left Belize, which is where we were living at the time, left Belize to go for 5 days, a 5-day vacation to Roatan. Actually, we were meeting some friends there, and the plan was to just enjoy, you know, get out, go diving, go snorkel, enjoy the beaches. And we landed there in Roatan at the international airport and got off the plane, got to our little villa and put our bags down and decided to go out and find some dinner. And as we are sitting at the bar and grill there on the beach, we get a message from the property manager where we were staying, and he says, you know, hey guys, I just want to give you a bit of a heads up. You know, this is smack dab in the middle of COVID, the beginning of COVID times. He said, hey, there's just some rumblings that the borders may close in the next couple of days. And, you know, being fresh off the plane and just excited to be on this vacation, we really didn't think much of it. I mean, how many times has this happened in the past? And we went on with our dinner, went back, had a great sleep, and woke up the next morning to the message that indeed the borders were going to be closing that night at 6 p.m. And your choices as an American expat was to either get a repatriation flight or wait it out. And we, you know, had left everything in Texas years before that. And so we didn't have anything to go back to in the States. And so we decided to wait it out, not knowing how long it would be. And 5 months to the date, we finally got back to Belize. So I got to spend 5 months in Honduras. It wasn't exactly the experience I was anticipating, but while I was there, what I did learn was how incredibly helpful and friendly the people are there. Just amazing to the people that chose to stay. And, you know, being somebody that didn't get out and explore, we had a great taxi driver. When he took us to the grocery store, he would point things out to us. So just, you know, although it wasn't ideal, it was an amazing place to be locked down somewhere. Honduras was amazing. So enough about me. With me today, I do have on the line here Patrick Hebert. Patrick, tell us a little bit about you and your experiences with Honduras.
Thanks, Ellie. Yeah, well, first of all, we promised to keep this webinar shorter than the last one, so we won't labor on about the things that are not important, like myself. But you know, I really am a huge fan of Honduras. You know, I know when we did the other presentations on the other countries and the one that was general about all the countries, we forced ourselves to choose 2 or 3 countries that were our favorites in the region, and Honduras was at the top of my list, which tends to surprise people, but it's just got such a diversity and so much potential and so much beauty that and it's such a low cost of living, and all those things combined. Certainly from an investment standpoint, I think it's an incredible country to invest in right now. And so that, I really love Honduras, and it'll probably show when I'm talking about it.
Awesome, perfect. And alongside him is Andrea Martinez. Andrea, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am from Ecuador, so I'm an expat in Central America. I've lived almost all my life in South America, and about 7-8 years ago, I moved to Central America, first Nicaragua, then Belize. And when we were in Belize, living in Belize, we wanted to, by living in Central America, it's very easy to go from one country to another. So we decided to go visit Honduras. It was the first time for me to go to Honduras. We went to Roatan because it's pretty easy to take a plane from Belize and go to Roatan. And from Roatan, it's beautiful, amazing place. I really loved it. And from there, we took a ferry and got to La Ceiba in Honduras. And it was very beautiful. It was surprising to me because I didn't know much about the country, and I saw that there were many expats there, and it was the area, the ocean, the beach, all the things that you can see and all the things that you can find. There are so many good services there. You can find anything you need. So I would love to talk right now to have this opportunity to tell people about our experiences here. It's one of the, when we talked about the favorite countries, I didn't mention Honduras because we only had to pick 3, but I really enjoyed it too.
And no matter how many times I try, I'll never be able to say Roatan sound as nice as Andrea saying Roatan.
Roatan, you'll learn. We're practicing.
And just a note here about who we are, and you probably saw, depending on how you registered for this webinar, you either saw the name ecovillages.life on our Facebook page or Instagram, or maybe you found us via the website. So Patrick, tell us a little bit, just a short snippet about who Eco Villages is.
Yeah, sure. Again, we know these presentations we're doing on each country specifically are more about learning about the country than about specific places that we might have designed in the country. But that's what Eco Villages does. We design minimalist, eco-sensible, sustainable, liberty-oriented communities throughout the Latin American region. And we're expanding into other areas as we go. It's very popular right now, and with all the movement from people around the world, from other countries into Central America, especially, we're really busy, and we're enjoying the time that we get to spend in all these countries designing the different communities. My son, co-founder Spencer, is kind of the brains behind a lot of the designs and all the beautiful home models and condominium models and everything, and kind of the expert in tiny homes and a lot of our communities. We have estate homes, 3-4 bedroom homes, 5-bedroom homes, 2-bedroom homes, but also we spend a lot of time designing tiny homes, mostly because a lot of people moving to the region, first of all, the weather is awesome, so you can spend most of your time outdoors. You're really just using your bedroom, your kitchen, and the bathroom, and you don't need a lot of great rooms and other types of things in a home. So we just try to make them as efficient as homes as possible, and tiny homes sort of fill that or check that box. And you see Andrea, who's my wife here beside me, kind of an expert in our property, a woman of many skills, being a doctor as well as a property expert in the communities that we design. Juan is in the office there with you as the finance director. Our office in Managua in Nicaragua is our architectural center. You're in Panama right now in the office there, Ellie, and Herman is our chief architect with a group of quite a few architects and renderers and things like that in our Managua office. And there you are at the end again of so we've already talked about you, Ellie. So.
Yeah, and I guess something that I just, so I got a question after one of our other webinars about this idea of eco-sensibility and why we chose to bring that to the region. And the reality is that electricity is high. And so if we can minimize those costs to folks who are choosing to lower their cost of living or increase their quality of life through those means, then we're happy to do that and provide that kind of situation.
And you know, a little bit of the history with Spencer and I, we lived on I used to be in the software business, and when I sold my software company, we kind of took some time off family, and my daughters were a little bit older, but Spencer and I lived in a boat for a long time, and we really learned a lot about minimalism and eco-sensibility. We coined the term eco-sensibility. It's eco-friendliness without being eco-fanatic, and really what that means to us is, you know, a lot of the green concepts, they really need to be financially beneficial as well before they're going to really catch on. If it's just a feel-good thing, but it costs you a lot of money, you're probably not going to stick with it very long. But if it, you know, we do a lot of solar, wind power type of things that obviously saves you a lot of money on your electricity bill. We do a lot of gray water reuse, which, you know, allows you to water your garden or something from the water that came out of your shower or your kitchen sink. That saves you a lot of on your water bill, and those sorts of what we call eco-sensible things. And sustainability these days is huge, right? I mean, people are really, you know, probably the #1 driver that we see when people are looking at our communities and moving from their country, whether it's in Europe or Australia or US or Canada, to this region, is they want to be more self-sustainable. And that really is less reliant on governments and corporations. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so enough about that for now, but why are you here? You're here to explore the good, the bad, and the ugly about Honduras. It would be easier for us to sit here and just tell you all the great and wonderful things about Honduras, but the truth is you have probably done a little bit of due diligence on your own. You've heard the stories and things like that. So we're here to just kind of walk you through our experiences. And you know, the truth is eventually you'll want to get down and get your boots on the ground and feel out the country for yourself. So Andrea, tell us, where in the world is Honduras?
Well, Honduras, as most of you know, is located in Central America. It is between Nicaragua, Guatemala, and El Salvador. The capital is Tegucigalpa, which is located between like open woodland. It's located between many woods, like trees, and at the same time, it is in the highland. So it is about 3,100 feet above the sea in the lowest area, and above 4,000 feet in its highest area. It has about 18 departments. The currency is a lempira, which is about 25 lempiras would be like $1. And the language is Spanish, as you might know, and it has a population of about 9.8 million people. One thing is that the currency also, many locals and stores accept dollars too. So even if you don't have a lempira, you can use US dollars as well. And why is Honduras a place where many expats have decided to live? One of the most important things that they see is that it has favorable property prices. It has really good prices. And so especially even when it is when you compare it to other countries in the region, Honduras has one of the best prices in property. Oceanfront properties that you would find in other countries, like more than $500,000 here, are like amazing prices. The cost of living is the same. The cost of electricity, you know, all the utilities, the food, the health, all those things are very affordable for people. And you can find many things to do. Honduras has both a Pacific and Atlantic coast, so you can do many things, many type of activities, from surfing, from diving, you know, going to islands like Roatán, Utila, where you can find water sports, things like that, or go to the jungle, do hiking. So many things if you're an adventurer. Also learn history, see ruins, Mayan ruins, things like that. And by talking about low property costs, you can also see that the property taxes are also low. The communities, you can find a lot of people, like-minded people in many communities over there, especially the ones that are closer to the ocean in the Caribbean side, the islands as well. And you can make your own communities of people because when you go to another country, sometimes you worry that I'm not going to find or meet anybody that I could relate to. But it is not like that. You would find a lot of expats. And also, as we have said in other webinars, people usually are very friendly in the locals. The people from Honduras are very friendly to expats. That is one of the good things that you will find all through Central America. They're very, very friendly, very helpful when they see expats. It's not, you won't never feel like you are rejected or anything like that. So you can make a family inside this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit something on the head there, is just how welcoming this culture of people really truly are. And Honduras has actually been named the friendliest country in Central America, which everybody has their own argument about what country that is. A lot of us could say it's Belize. Patrick, I know you love the people of Nicaragua. So again, it's just for you to get out there and explore it for yourself. So we have another poll here for you guys. What does the word Honduras mean? What do you think the word, let's see. Hold on, guys. I'm having a little bit of an odd thing happening on my end. Can you guys see the poll on your end, Andrea?
We can, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what does the word Honduras mean? Does it mean happiness? Does it mean depths, palm trees, docks, or do you have no clue? What does the word Honduras mean? I'll give you a couple seconds here. It doesn't look like. Let's try this again. Okay. Maybe now. It was telling me I had done something wrong. It was giving me an error. So sorry about that, you guys. But happiness, depths, palm trees, or docks. So, something, just a fun fact about history here is that Christopher Columbus actually discovered Honduras back in the day. I can't even remember exactly what year it was, but the word Honduras came after he was off the coast of Trujillo in Honduras. And he dubbed it Honduras because it means depths. So the depth of the water there, he was fascinated with, and it ended up naming the country after the deep waters. So very cool. We had 2 people that answered that correctly. So good for you guys. You guys get a gold star. Everybody else,
that must have been the toughest question so far, Ellie.
Everybody else, thanks for being honest and saying you had no clue. I didn't either until I went and looked it up. So, all right, moving ahead here. We do want to talk a little bit about the climate and weather. Obviously, Central America and this region is known for its tropical climates, and where people are going to escape the cold and escape the snow. So it is a tropical climate. There are amazing coastal breezes, sunshine during rain. Something I want to mention here is down there where it says how rainy is rainy season. Being in a tropical climate, a lot of times rain showers come in and they go as quickly as they came. Usually the sun is still shining when it rains, which is a little weird sometimes, but then, the sun keeps on shining, the water dries up, and you can go on about your day. A lot of times we get asked this question about natural disasters, and it is something that you do have to be aware of and be just cognizant. This is just that part of the world that has these things like earthquakes and hurricanes. And something we want to just note here is that when you are looking to own a property or invest in a property in Honduras, you do want to make sure that the people that you're purchasing that home from, or you're renting that home from, that they have built their home to meet the standards and be a safe structure. So I know, Patrick, you have a lot to say about that specifically, but it's not really a code, in this region, is to build to hurricane standards. So that's something that you want to look into. And as you're having conversations with developers and things like that, you make sure to ask them what standards they build to.
Yeah, and the one thing I will throw in here on the the nice thing about the Caribbean coast of Honduras, the area around Roatan, La Ceiba, Trujillo, it kind of makes a triangle of tourism there, but it's really facing north, the coast there. So whereas most of the countries are kind of east-west, or the running north-south, and so when you have a hurricane moving in, the hurricanes will move in from the east to the west, and push a big storm surge and everything, and this part of Honduras really gets, for the most part, they get the storm, but they don't get the same kind of wave action and everything, because the waves are moving east to west, whereas they're facing north. So it's almost like the storm, you're watching the storms blow by. But at the same time, the further south you get in Central America, the definitely less there are of hurricanes. So they're really more of a Gulf of Mexico and a little bit south of Gulf of Mexico kind of event, whereas most of them have turned up into the Gulf of Mexico by the time they get to the coast. But that's not entirely true. I mean, Costa Rica and Nicaragua have had hurricanes before as well, but that it's rare that it gets that low, and kind of Honduras is sort of on that break point of being far enough south that it doesn't get a ton of them.
I love having like our resident scientists on these webinars with us.
Andrea didn't even tell me to shut up this time.
You know so much about the weather patterns in the region. It's helpful. I think I just learned something.
Last time I talked about the jet stream, I got shut down.
Because it was a question. They wanted to see something else.
And then your cost of living, if you guys joined us last week for our Panama webinar, I got hazed a little bit for my grocery bill. And I will say that
I was looking forward to this slide again.
Always, we like to cook at home. We do a lot of cooking at home. We don't eat out a whole lot, but we do like to explore the local cuisine, obviously, and go out and meet the food vendors and things like that. But shopping in Honduras, you can find a lot of great stuff, and depending on what kinds of great stuff you want to buy, will probably alter your cost of living a little bit. And also location. So when you're talking about you want to lower your cost of living, be realistic. What are your must-haves? Do you have to have AC? Or can you stand to live with just fans and breezes coming through your windows? Which, if you're living in a coastal area, you're going to have those tropical breezes pretty much all the time. What kind of home are you looking for? What are you going to be living in? Is it something that is eco-sensible and has, these different, help me out here, I lost the word, but it has the solar panels and it has the other systems, that was the word I was looking for, to reduce those, energy bills and utility bills. You can see there that electricity is about 18 US cents a kilowatt. I mean, it's high, and that's pretty much true for the entire region. So there are ways to reduce your cost of living. Again, just factor in what your must-haves are. Water is very affordable. It's about $40 US a month. Transportation, are you going to be able to walk to and from, your neighborhood grocery store or your favorite hangout? Or you're going to buy imported goods versus local goods. So there's a lot of things that can factor into that. But as a single person, you can probably expect to live really, really nicely on about $1,500 US a month.
Yeah, and I would think that's quite nice.
Yeah, like that's you guys.
Andrea's turn to take shots at you.
Thanks, guys. But
it's good. It's good to say, a higher number, because it's more realistic. Than people will be pleasantly surprised when they spend a lot less. So that's good to do. And it was interesting when you were saying about this, choose to use AC or not. I'm Canadian, so I was thinking, well, in Canada in the winter, I certainly can't choose whether I'm going to heat my home or not. But you're never heating your home down here. There's not even heaters or furnaces or anything like that. So the only thing you're choosing for choose your temperature is your air conditioner. Is it on or is it off, and what's it set at, right? So that's your most expensive appliance. I mean, if you can get by, I mean, we don't have our home very cool when we use the AC, but it's just, comfortable, and it, but not expensive, because they can choose what temperature you put it on, or we can turn it off. But it's quite a difference for, I know for Canadians watching this and thinking, well, how does that make such a difference? Because I don't get to choose whether I have my home at room temperature. Well, here you can, right? Because you're never going to be heating.
And also it's important to notice that it can be, we have to compare between Roatan, for example, which is an island. It's more expensive than you have when you live in the mainland. It's a lot, it's a big
That's
difference.
very true. Yeah, the tourist areas, obviously the most touristy areas are going to be the most expensive. And that'll kind of manifest itself mostly in rent, right? What you're expected to pay in rent. So.
Yep, exactly. So if you have more questions specifically about your scenario or kind of what you have in your mind about, a certain area or a certain location, let us know and we'll be happy to talk about that a little bit more with you. So do you have to shop here? So on the left is Eldon's Supermarket in Roatan. It looks just like what you would expect to see in a North American supermarket. Of course, you're going to pay a little bit more for these places because they are heating, or not heating, but cooling. They have the employees, the electricity, and all of that kind of thing. Or can you shop at a local fruit stand where you can pick them up and smell them and talk to the vendor and really figure out where the fruits and vegetables came from. And I will tell you that the quality and the taste of the local produce is by far better than what I ever had in North America. They just taste better. They have a deeper, richer flavor. So just keep that in mind as you're figuring out your cost of living and where you want to shop. Andrea, tell us about what we should know about Banana Republic.
So the term Banana Republic, in the 20th century, even before that, it was not like the best term for Honduras and like the Central American countries, because it was like talking about a small country that nobody would invest in, filled with corruption. But afterwards, the term has been changing because Honduras became the biggest export of bananas in the world. So they started having a lot of investment from companies that came from other countries, specifically the United States, Boston, New Orleans, and they funded like the Standard Fruit Company, the United Fruit Company, that now are subsidiaries for Dole. Dole, that is like a very well-known company. And they're not only now making bananas, but exporting bananas, but other fruits like pineapple, like, some about that. So right now, when you call it Banana Republic, gotta think like it's a
badge of honor now instead of
it's a badge of
negative
honor.
term.
Like I see it as a badge of honor because even my country, Ecuador, is also a banana republic, right? We export a lot of bananas. And well, Honduras doesn't only export bananas, but it became really one of the first things that one of the type of exports that really helped the economy of the country. And now, of course, they export other things like lobster, olive oil, shrimp. So they in Dole, even they not only export bananas but other fruits as well. So
I think you dug up a video of me from a few weeks ago when I was at the Reef community and standing in front of the pineapples. So.
I did, and I'm just about ready to share that with you guys. So let me get that up and running here. And here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm standing in the middle of a Dole pineapple farm, and you can see beautiful mountains behind me. Spectacular, and I'm right beside the property of Grand Atlantida, which is right over here where the jungle starts, and the Reef property is in there, the Reef community. And we're heading over there now, but it was a beautiful morning here. The clouds are just covering some of the tips of the mountains, but it's pretty spectacular. It really doesn't do it justice, on the video here of how beautiful the mountains are. And these pineapples are just about ready. These aren't quite there, but just past ones where they actually trim the tips of these pineapples plants so that the workers, when they're picking them, don't get hurt. And you can see that over here a little bit. They'll do, you see where is that? You see the blunt end of the of the pineapple because they're very sharp. That's how the pineapple plant protects itself against animals and things. So, but we're just sitting here in the plantation, and beautiful. Dole does a lot of good things for people here. They give the locals the pineapples for free, and they'll sell them in the market or eat them as food. Certainly during the COVID times, that was a big part of when there was a lot less tourism in the area. A big part of helping out the local community. They employ, I heard the number, I can't remember, it's like 40,000 people or something in this area. There's tons and tons of pineapple plantations, so it's a beautiful area, and it's a good thing for the people too.
Perfect. Yeah. And while I get this presentation back up, Patrick, tell us a little bit more about that. How big are those plantations?
Oh, they're huge. Honduras has some of the biggest pineapple plantations in the world. And in fact, that one that I was standing on there was the first plantation or the first land that was used for pineapples by the Dole Company, or they originally were called Standard Fruit or something like that.
Standard Fruit Company.
But
it's a
so it's like 100 and some years old that area has been a pineapple plantation. So it's been supporting the community for a long time. And they, like I said, they it's just interesting little things you see where they cut the plants. Obviously, that's for not only the workers, but that's for the buyers later too. That these spiky plants in the grocery store that are poking holes in everybody that walks by. So, but there, so many different types of fruits in the country. And the other thing you mentioned there about shopping at a market versus a grocery store, I much rather shop shop at a market. It's organic fruit, and 99.9999% of the fruit and vegetables in the countries down here are organic, because pesticides and herbicides are frankly too expensive for the farmers. So then they pick,
the real size.
Yeah, the real size, the real color, and they're picked when they're ripe, right? So they're really tasty versus, in Canada, if you want a banana, it's picked 3 weeks early, painted yellow and shipped up to Canada. And that they don't do down here. They'll pick it when it's ripe and ready to eat, and it's just so much more tasty.
That's terrible.
And what that means for you guys that are on the line is that you get that tropical fresh fruit flavor that is just unbeatable, right? So
and for our sustainable communities that we're making too, it's awesome, right? Because you can have so much variety of community gardens, community orchards, to just walk out in your backyard and pick fruit and vegetables you want for the day, and walk over to the chicken coop and grab some eggs. And eggs are always another funny thing that I think you and I always argued about that. When I first came down to Nicaragua, and we had somebody cleaning the house, and she would always put the eggs on the counter, and I'd put them back in the fridge, and she'd take them out of the fridge and put them back on the counter, because down here nobody puts their eggs in the fridge. And it was just like, and so I was surprised they'd last like a month and not go bad on the counter. But it's just weird how we think in North America that eggs have to go into the fridge.
I second that notion. I was shocked. Shocked. But something, so that's all great and wonderful. And again, we came here and brought you all here to talk about the truths about each country that we are exploring with you guys. And one of the biggest topics that comes up is safety. And you have all heard the stories, we've all read the articles, and you may have heard not great things about Honduras. It's not something that we are afraid to admit, because we've seen them. We've seen the articles, and we've seen the people that talk about Honduras, and it really does get a bad rap. But this is my favorite quote, and if you've joined us for other presentations, you know it. It's a central theme. Take caution into consideration, but qualify your opinions around you with firsthand experience and knowledge. And so we are sharing with you our experiences. We are sharing with you comfort levels that we have. But the truth is that you will be able to make your own experiences and your own judgments about the countries that you're visiting. So safety is a big thing. You want to make sure that when you get to your paradise that you're able to live an enjoyable life. So just some safety tips. We talk about a little bit about, things you can do to put yourself in good position. Obviously, there are parts of the country that are more safe than others. One of those being, the borders of Guatemala and El Salvador. That's pretty much true of any border that you visit. So it's hard to pinpoint that and say it's just specific to Honduras. But some things you can do is talk to your waiter, talk to your bartender, ask them what places to avoid, what streets not to go down, what maybe neighborhoods you should, not explore at night. But they're going to be your biggest advocate. They want you to keep coming back, so they're going to make sure that you're safe. And use your street smarts. You probably all were taught in grade school about what to do when you're on the street, if you're alone, with your group of friends, obviously being out later times at night. If you're feeling uncomfortable in a place, you probably want to move to another place. But those are just things that you can do as a person, as a tourist, as a new expat in the community, is get to know your surroundings and get to know the people that you surround yourself with. But anything else there, Patrick? I know you mentioned you had a point to talk about here.
Well, I mean, I always have fairly strong feelings on this because when, 15, 20 years ago, when I first came down to Central America, all my friends and family thought I was crazy and, ready to write me off because I was bringing my young kids down here. But the reality is, I mean, there are less safe areas of Honduras. Like I always say, if you're a drug dealer and you're out at 2 a.m., you're probably not going to be in the safest spot. But that's the same as if you're in downtown Chicago and the wrong time and wrong area, then that's not safe either. So you can't paint the whole country with one brush. And so that's the problem with these statistics on small countries, is you think like Trujillo or something is going to be as dangerous as a bad neighborhood in a drug area or something, and it's just not the case. So I mean, it's you got to be fair. Yeah, I mean, statistically, it's Honduras, El Salvador don't look good on paper, and if you're a CNN watcher, you're going to hear that all the time, and it gets tiring, right? So and your point there on make your own decisions up about it. Right? People that have never been here telling you that it's unsafe is really frustrating for me. So, I love Honduras. I've never felt unsafe there, much like I've never felt unsafe in any of these countries. And I'm a magnet for making wrong turns and going into the wrong neighborhoods. I mean,
we always get
anybody
lost.
that knows me well is constantly lost in the wrong part of town. And I don't know, I've never had any problems, and knock on wood, and a part of it is, maybe don't do that. If you don't know where you're driving, don't do it. But, my experience has been, whether it's, in any city, whether you're in Paris or Toronto or Melbourne or wherever you are, just be careful. And of course, if you're on resorts and the communities, it's safe as, the safest places you can be. People are super friendly, and there's not this intent to go after foreigners. It's the opposite. The most 99.9% of people appreciate the foreigners because they're bringing investment into the country that creates jobs.
Yeah, and as Ali said, I agree. Like, talk to the people that live there and say, where should I go? Where are the places that will be safer for me? And people want to help you, and they will tell you where to go or where not to. And also, not all the mainstream media makes a country, like, give them this reputation that not necessarily is the whole country. There are areas of each country that are more dangerous than the others, right? So if you're going to go to the biggest city, always the cities in every country is always going to be more dangerous than other areas of the country. So,
well, and not to belabor the point, but you hear about Honduras and El Salvador because lots of El Salvadorans and Hondurans are crossing the border into the US right now. And that isn't because of safety. I mean, that's what's reported on CNN, like it's dangerous. They're fleeing their countries. It's for opportunity. It's they're watching the news and hearing that the US has a huge employment problem where people aren't going back to work from COVID, and thinking, well, there's a great opportunity. We know people that have just gone into the States and work at a hotel or whatever they can because there's so much more opportunity for jobs. But so that's more of the reason. And of course, when you're hearing on the news that a minimum wage is whatever it is in the U.S. or Canada, and then you relate that to, if you're Honduran, to their minimum wage, you go, wow, I'm going to live like a king. They don't realize either so much how expensive it is to live up north. And it's not just the wages are that much higher, but the expenses are that much higher too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move forward because safety and the perception of safety actually kind of ties into why there is such a high investment appreciation potential in the region. And you can see this curve, and I'm going to let Patrick explain it to you because he's really had the most experiences with owning properties and things like that in different countries. So Patrick, kind of tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah, and I know we've had this slide in every single one of the presentations, webinars that we've done, but it's important and it's a good segue in about safety and the perception of the country, regardless of whether that's real or not, plays a lot into these where the country is on this graph. So at the top right, you've got the countries that are more mature. They've talked about tourism since the 80s or 70s, like the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, Mexico. That's where everybody used to go. And that's driven the prices high. By our standards down here, they're very, very high in some of these countries. The bottom left of the side here on the opposite end, it's not been a tourism destination so much for North Americans, at least, or Europeans or Australians. It is, these countries are tourist destinations for their neighboring countries. There's a lot of Salvadorians, Nicaraguans, Costa Ricans that will go to Honduras because Honduras has a beautiful Caribbean side to it. But because it hasn't been really overpopulated by North Americans yet, it's kept the costs really way down in terms of property purchasing prices. So the other day when we were doing the other webinar and choosing our countries, I chose from an investment standpoint rather just from a heart, standpoint. I was trying to use an investor's brain. And so to me, El Salvador, Honduras are the top countries to invest in right now. They have the most chance of capital gain. And we're seeing, Honduras becoming very popular. We've got a lot of people interested in moving to the communities that we've designed in Honduras. And likewise in El Salvador has brought in Bitcoin, and that brings in a whole another crowd. So there's definitely a ton of going on there. And I can see Honduras and El Salvador and Nicaragua to some extent are quickly moving up this scale, to catch up with Belize and eventually Panama as well. So from an investment standpoint, I'm very bullish on Honduras. Obviously, you see that, with all transparency, the property on the right there is the Reef. That's one of our 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom tiny homes that we've designed, and that's under $100,000. I think they're spectacular, beautiful homes. And compare that to something in Duck, Florida, which I only learned about Duck today from Ellie. I surprisingly have never been to Duck, Florida. But, again, even not maybe the most popular destinations at all in the US, but similar kind of, Caribbean sort of feel to it. It's 3.5 times the price for something in a similar size range. So again, you get a lot more for your money in Honduras. And in this case, on the right, the gated community, you've got all the security. If you're worried about safety, you don't have to worry about that in these kind of countries or in these kind of communities because they're gated, they have security, and you have these are solar powered homes or solar hybrid homes. So you have your grid power as well, and your water is treated and everything. So you've got at least of the comforts of home, and it's at a lot less money and a lot nicer place to live.
Absolutely. So we've been through some really, really important topics already, but this one is another one of those items on people's checklists of what about healthcare? What if there's an emergency? What can I do about, doctor's visits and other medical needs? So Andrea, you have a lot of experience with this, not only personally and professionally, but just in knowing the people here, knowing the doctors here, and knowing the healthcare structure. So tell us a little bit about the healthcare in Honduras.
Yeah, so the healthcare is also something very important to me when we decided to move, to see the kind of hospitals there are in any place that we go. So it is something that I know that most expats want to know about, if they can have the medicine that they need, the doctors that are well trained, if there are good hospitals, if they have good equipment. So the healthcare in Honduras is pretty much divided into two, private and public. Also, they have a social security type of healthcare that those are hospitals that take care of people that are affiliated to the social security. The public, there are many hospitals and health centers there, and it's for free for everybody. But as most public healthcare in the area in Central and Latin America in general, it's not like the best quality. Even though there are good doctors and good nurses, it is not accessible to everybody. It is the equipment is not complete many times. It's sometimes too saturated, so the attention is not what you would expect. So, but a person that is coming from another country, a more developed country, I would say that the best that you can do is to try to always go to a private facility. Either, you know, and that is one of the good things that are in these countries, is that you have the choice, right? You can go to a private or a public. And if you want to go to you want to be treated more personalized, in a more personalized way, you want to be treated faster, it's better to go to a private hospital. In Honduras, there is about 1,100 private medical facilities, including like hospitals, health centers, you know, public offices, pharmacies, laboratories. The doctors are really well prepared. You can find many specialists. Even some of the doctors even go to other countries to specialize and then come back to the country with all that knowledge. So usually the good thing is that you can make an appointment and have your own specialist. You can find different types of hospitals, like for example, in Roatan, you can see that there are different private hospitals, and in those hospitals, many of the doctors are well prepared, even in English and in Spanish. And this is very interesting that the Anthony Key Resort has a clinic that has that only hyperbaric chamber there, because there are so many divers there, so you can access to that. And the place that we went in La Ceiba, it also is not like the biggest town, but you can find really good hospitals, private and also public. The Vicente de Antoni is a really good one, and it was funded. It started, the Antoni family also started the banana plantations there. So Vicente de Antoni was the part of that family that started that Standard Fruit company, and that's why they made this hospital in his honor. And it is very well equipped. It is very close to La Ceiba. In Tegucigalpa, for sure, you will find more because that's the capital, but all along the country, you can find different facilities. And I would say that one of the things also is important, that because not the public healthcare gets too saturated because of all the amount of people, to have the choice and the option to go to the private healthcare, it's better for even the population, right? That you are not gonna saturate the public healthcare, and you will have even a better service there. Another thing that we get asked a lot is about health insurance. I would say that the health insurance, you can have international health insurance, and depending on where you come from, you can get different types. We have BMI, but there's also Bupa, Best Doctors. As you can see, there's Cigna, Allianz. So what means is that you can have attention inside the country of private hospitals, but you can also go to other hospitals in other countries, depending on the type of treatment that you need. We have the healthcare, the international health insurance, mostly to prevent any disease or any accident that might need something more complicated and more specialized equipments for a treatment.
Well, I think for us too, the reason that we have the international healthcare is because we have to travel a lot for work, right? So we could find ourselves in any country in the world, and our health insurance will cover us. But if you were moving to the La Ceiba area in Honduras, and you're going to stay there all year, you might as well get, the local health insurance, which is going to be a lot less expensive. In fact, it's usually, I don't know, $50, $60 a month or something like that for full coverage, pretty much. So, it's more expensive if you're getting the international care, but if you're not traveling all the time to different countries, you don't really need it.
Yeah, and if you get there and at the time you don't have health insurance, if you go to a doctor or to a hospital, it is very affordable. It's one of the most affordable healthcares in the area, more than Panama.
Yeah, I mean, you
So-
just saw the previous slide there, and office visits $5 or $15. I mean, it's hard to relate. I mean, private ER for $30 a day.
Mhm.
Imagine that's we're talking thousands of dollars in the US, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course, like you mentioned, Andre, it's just the saturation, with almost 10 million people in the country that are depending on that public healthcare. If we're able to use a private clinic or hospital for your needs, then absolutely look into those in the area that you're considering. But lots of great lists here about different various expat locations. And those on the screen here are ones that are located in the heavily concentrated expat communities. So there's, of course, others, but these were the ones that came to mind initially.
yeah, and we have a ton of connections on healthcare and residency and all the different things. So if you have any questions, please send us an email and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yes, perfect. So it's poll time. Are you guys ready to get involved here? Tell us, once you've made the decision that Honduras is a place you want to be or own, what is your main goal? Are you planning to live there part-time, come and go a little bit? Maybe you do want to escape your winters currently. Do you want to make the move permanently? Are you ready to say, I want to go and live on a beach and live in the tropics full-time? Are you wanting to invest and use it as a vacation home? Again, we've talked about some of the positives there on the side of benefits of owning and investing in a home and then renting it out, and being able to collect that residual income. Explore the country as a tourist. Maybe you're just here to learn a bit more about what there is to see and do in Honduras, and the little things like safety and all of that are kind of a side note for you. Or is it other? Let us know in the Q&A if you have another scenario on your mind that you'd like to share with us. So we have, wow, another really split poll here. So we have about a three-way, actually it's a four-way split between the top four. The top four, you guys are all kind of split right down into four pieces there. So living part-time, coming and going, making the move permanently, actually scored just a tad bit higher. So you guys are ready to go and live the tropic life. That's very cool. Invest and use as a vacation home and then explore as a tourist. So very cool that we have such a diverse group of people on the presentation with us today. It makes it very exciting and makes me excited to further some conversations with you guys about what your next steps are.
And I forgot to mention, Ellie, on the investment side too, on that graph that shows capital gain and all that sort of stuff. I didn't really talk about the revenue, the rental revenue potential of the area. I know, for instance, the Reef community, that's probably has the highest rental revenue potential, ROI, return on investment, of any of the properties and communities that we've designed throughout the region of all these countries. And you might find that surprising because Honduras is, the highest rental return. And yeah, because that area is very popular, not only for North Americans around Roatan and Europeans, but the mainland of La Ceiba area around that area is also very popular for Nicaraguans, Costa Ricans, El Salvadorians, Mexicans, all over the region, because it's such a beautiful area. So that it's really underserved with accommodations. I know when Spencer and I were there a few weeks ago, we couldn't stay at Grand Atlanta because it was completely sold out. Like the occupancy was 100%, and the rates are reasonably high too. So from on those kind of resorts. So I mean that's another reason why I really think it's amazing kind of investment opportunities. And Andrea and I are going to own one of the tiny homes there. We want to be there once in a while too, but also for the rental side of it.
Absolutely.
It's a hidden gem.
It really is.
I love it, the hidden gem. So welcome to Honduras, you guys. The first half of this presentation is really heavy with a lot of really important things. So this last piece is going to kind of go pretty quickly. I see that we have about 6 minutes left in the hour. I don't know how we do this, you guys, every time.
What do you mean halfway through?
Every
I thought it was done.
But there are lots of ways to get into Honduras. Obviously, the most popular are through the international airports. Honduras actually has 4 international airports, and you'll see the list there on your screen. But something I want to note is previously there was an international airport in Tegucigalpa. It has since been replaced with the new one in Comayagua. I'm still practicing that one. But so there's lots of different ways to enter the country via airports. Obviously, you do have some land borders that you can cross as well. You do have to have a yellow fever vaccination if you're coming in from Panama or any South American country. And your return flight is required. Well, we say return flight, you have to have some proof of onward travel. So at the end of your 90-day tourist visa, you have to have, I believe it's 30 days actually in Honduras, but you can renew it after that. But you do have to have proof of that onward ticket there. There's also ways to get out and explore the country. We've talked about how big and wonderful the country is and how diverse it is in the types of adventures that it offers. Obviously, if you are going to be touring the mainland or on that big island of Roatan, you may want to look into renting a car. But I will say that having a taxi driver or somebody like that you maybe private hire for a day or two, you get so much knowledge from them, and they're able to get you from point A to point B and not be like Patrick and get lost going from adventure to adventure. So lots of different ways to get it and move around the country. Obviously, the most affordable is going to be your public transportation like buses. The water taxis are beautiful just because of the movement across the water there, but lots of different ways to get around. And of course, things to experience. Something that I was researching and came across back when we were making our vacation to Honduras was the Copan ruins, which are a huge Maya ruin there in Honduras. And they do have a hieroglyphic stairway where they have these carvings in the stairs that you can go. And I didn't get to experience them, so I did a lot of looking online and things like that. I hope to get back one day, but they're just mesmerizing, the detail of these hieroglyphics. And then whitewater rafting. I don't know if any of you guys have been whitewater rafting in other parts of the world, but I hear that the Rio is amazing to do this and a great experience all the way around. Of course, diving the area, you have multiple dive sites. One of the most popular ones, of course, is Roatan, but then there's Cayos Cochinos, which is the Hog Islands, which has multiple different dive sites to explore and visit. Right there off the coast of La Ceiba typically is where those tours leave from. And then, of course, if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily want to be in the water or you don't want to be hiking the ruins, then visit one of the museums. Lots of museums there. And in fact, Patrick, you talked about a museum having a very interesting piece of artifact there.
Yeah, and I can't even remember the name of there was the bat god, and one of the Mayan gods was named or taken after a bat. And it was interesting because the newer Batman costume was modeled off of that bat god, and we have actually a post on that on our Instagram, Eco Village's Instagram site. We'll have to put a link when we put this video recording up to that, because I thought it was really interesting that the person that won, they had a contest, DC Comics or Warner Brothers or whoever does that, it had a contest that to choose the new look of the latest bat costume for Batman, and it came from the bat god from that museum. And if you look at the picture of that bat god, you can see it looks exactly like Batman. Right? So.
Yeah, I think we will. I think we'll just add it. So be on the lookout for that follow-up email with the recording in it, and we'll put the link in there because it is quite interesting. I know Batman as it is today, but I never knew that it had ties back to the Mayas. So very, very cool there. So did you know?
And apparently the bat costume or the bat god thing, whatever the costume that they made in the museum is missing. So we're thinking maybe it's in the bat cave somewhere.
Maybe.
Batman kind of took it back.
That's a good stretch. Are you Batman?
You want to believe in that.
Tell us about Pico Bonito, because I don't say it as pretty as you, Andrea, or somebody in the native language, but
Oh,
tell
you
us a
said
little bit
really
about
nice.
that.
Are you done?
No, you're doing
No, well, we won't waste too much time. Pico Bonito is the tallest mountain at around 8,000 feet in the country. And it's actually, again, you would have seen it in that little video I had where in the pineapple field. But the cloud,
Yeah.
it's right there in front of the resort, the Reef Resort. You're looking out and you can see it right there. And just, it's very, very beautiful. And that whole range is beautiful, but it really stands out as the tallest mountain there. And unfortunately, the cloud cover was over at that day. So.
Yeah, but absolutely beautiful place to explore. Lots of different things to do within that national park. So be sure to check it out.
Zip lining and, like you said, whitewater rafting.
Yeah,
tons of hiking and things. And of course, there's monkeys.
You went the wrong way here. Let's see.
For people
Sorry about that. All right, so meeting others like you, we've touched on it a little bit, but find those expat communities. The easiest way to immerse yourself, become part of a family there in the country, if that's what you're looking to do, is to find these expat communities. It's an easier way to settle in. Most of them are probably going to speak English if that's more comfortable for you. Not only that, but the locals that are in these communities, they will speak English most likely because they are used to serving expats. So there's just a lot of choices that you do have. Again, the Bay Islands, Roatan, Utila, the Copan that I just mentioned, La Ceiba, of course, and Trujillo are probably where the biggest concentration of expats are. But what if you're bringing your kids along? What about them? They need to get involved. They need to make friends. And this is a question that we get asked a lot as well, is what about schools? If you're not planning to homeschool your kiddos, whether they're preschool all the way up through high school, there are options for you. And one of the most popular with expats are these international schools. And there are international schools. They are located all on the mainland though. So keep that in mind if you are bringing your kids with you and you want them to go to an international school, which will help further their educational careers once they do decide to go to college, and those credits can transfer to other universities around the world. You'll want to be close to where those schools are located.
There's also private schools that are not international, but they also teach English and Spanish. So if you want your kids to not only be with expats, but also know local kids, you can also access to those private schools.
Right, absolutely. And extracurricular activities, soccer games and baseball games and things like that, you can definitely find quite easily. All right, our next poll, we have 3 more polls to go. This is poll number 4. Will you be bringing others along on this journey with you? If so, who? So let us know. It's always curious to me. We're hearing more and more, especially these days, of families that are making the move, that are relocating. Obviously, you have couples that come. And also, I'm hearing a lot about children bringing their parents to live out the rest of their golden years in these locations. So tell us who it is that you would be bringing with you. Partner, spouse, kids, parents, pets. Oh, I love it. I love it. Tell us what kind of pet you're hoping to bring along with you in the Q&A. We do have some information about that specific to Honduras that we're happy to share with you. So make sure you let us know in the Q&A, and we'll definitely get that information over to you if you don't yet have it. But very cool. So most of you are coming with a partner or spouse, and then it's kind of spread out evenly over the rest of the choices there. Very cool. All right. The food, I obviously love food, so I have a high grocery bill. But there's lots of different opportunities to get the taste of the Honduran cuisine. Of obviously going to these little hole in the wall type places are the easiest, and they're most spread out around the country. You do have upscale fine dining opportunities as well that will also have usually some kind of fusion between the local cuisine and some other samplings from other regions of the world. But a lot of times there's just something about, KFC, getting a fried chicken bucket of wings or something like that, that maybe you're once in a while craving. And not all Central American countries offer that to their community. So just note there's a lot of different ways to feed your senses there, from street food vendors all the way up to worldwide food chains there in La Ceiba. So lots of choices there for you. Of course, celebrations. Patrick always gives me such a hard time about my celebrations. I like to celebrate everything, really, and so does Central America. I think that's why we get along so well. But there's a lot of ways to go out, see the culture, learn more about the culture, and get to see all these different type of festivities. There's the Punta Gorda Festival in April. There's a festival in La Ceiba in May, and then of course in August, the Sun Jam Festival. So pretty much every month of the year, you can find some big celebration going on to be a part of and to go witness. Just some notes here about residency and tourists. Obviously, the tourist visa, you can get your first initial 30 days. You can get that extended up to 6 months and by visiting the immigration office, but you will need to leave the country to have that reset. And a fun fact here is that the C4 agreement with El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala, and Honduras, they, if you travel into those countries from each other, your passport does not reset, your immigration status does not reset. So most people that are on a tourist visa that are looking to stay longer than that 30 days go into places like Belize, Panama, or Costa Rica to reset their passport. But tell us a little bit about residency.
Well, yeah, I think what I was going to say here is that, I mean, one of the nice things about Honduras is the investor residency is probably one of the least expensive ones that you can find. And, if you're going to buy a home, that kind of meets the bar the level that you need to be over. And so in all honesty, the rentista or the renter or the retired, the renter residency options are usually the hardest to get, because I mean, the country's reason for putting these visas together is really for investment. They want people to come into the country and spend money. And the investor is the easiest to get generally because you're bringing, you're kind of moving there, or you're investing a significant amount of money into the country. And the retiree one is not too bad to get either, although you're not, as a retiree, you're not going to spend as much money as somebody who's investing. So there's a scale of it. And one of the things I'm going to say, because we're kind of going a long time on this webinar, is that next week, I guess we have our very specific, we've tried to keep all these webinars very general about the countries and try to be fair in every category of what the countries but we've been asked a lot over the last few weeks about, like, okay, that's enough of the generalities, tell us what to do, right? And you've done it before, so please help. So next week's webinar is really specific about the steps, the 4 steps that you've got to take if you want to be kind of feel free and sleep at night. And we're going to go into the depth of it then. But I think we'll probably do the same thing with the banking. It certainly can talk about local transactional bank accounts and versus offshore banking and a lot of that as well. But we'll probably wait. Likewise with taxes, there's an awful lot of depth. We're not tax accountants. You need to get your own advice on that. But we can tell you the general rules of the tax rates and things like that in the country, and kind of the best way to structure things based on our experience.
Yep, sorry. Something you mentioned is we will be talking about this and next week on your 4 steps. And again, everybody's scenario is a little different. So we hate to go too deep into one specific aspect of banking and taxes and things like that, because everybody has a different situation and their end goal is very different, right? So if you have questions about taxes and banking and all of that, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have a dedicated email address. It's questions@ecovillages.life that you can reach out and send us a quick note, even right now if you want to, so it's fresh on your mind about what your question is, and we will definitely get back to you with an answer specific to what you are looking for. So just a quick note here, the city of La Ceiba, you've heard us mention it, is named after the ceiba tree. And just a fun fact, I guess, about that and why La Ceiba was named La Ceiba is they had a huge tree that was growing at the end of a dock, or it was by the end of a dock. It was actually growing out of the ground, obviously not off the dock, but it actually succumbed to the ocean not too long ago. And they ended up naming the town after La Ceiba because the ceiba tree actually has a lot of deep seated roots in the Maya culture. And this seems kind of dark here that it talks about the souls of the dead and things like that, but that was big in the Maya culture. That's everything around them was based off of nature, right? So that's just something you have to come to terms with if you're going to be joining these kinds of communities. But I know, Patrick, you mentioned that Nicaragua sees the ceiba tree as something a little bit different. So it's fun to see how those stories, I guess, get passed down.
Yeah, we'll save that story. I mean, they considered the tree of knowledge, but it was interesting when the Spanish conquered this area that they took a lot of these things. They brought in Catholicism into the region, and they said that Jesus hid inside the tree because of the swollen part at the bottom, and there was a lot of stories where they mixed Catholicism with the local culture that had come from the Mayans. And so just interesting history on some of these things like the ceiba tree.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this slide, I realized that I love knowing what things mean. So it's fun to know where those words come from and how they're rooted. But here we go. This is the best part, I think, of the whole presentation. Maybe not. Maybe you guys hate it on the other end. Almost. This is the pop quiz. Time for the pop quiz. Were you paying attention?
Oh, yes.
Did you learn anything about Honduras that maybe you didn't know before? So here we go. So what is the name of the currency in Honduras? Is it the lemur, the dollar, the lempira, or Cordova? Did I do that right? Where is Roatan's only hyperbaric chamber located? And then we've got, what does Pico Bonito translate to in English?
Let's see.
And what is the name of the most important Maya ruin for the entire Central American region? We talked about that. It was in a couple of different slides. Let's see if we have A+ students on the line here today. Well, we all got the currency answer correct. Good job. The hyperbaric chamber stumped a few of you, and I know we talked about a lot of different locations there, but the answers at least were spread evenly. So everybody, it is Anthony Key Resort. So it is on Roatan at the Anthony Key Resort. Pico Bonito stands for what, Andrea?
Me? Pretty Peak.
Pretty Peak. Somebody said Nice Mountain, which was close. It was close.
It was a trick question.
Yeah.
I can't make it that easy. And then, of course, the name of the most important Maya ruin is in Copan. In Copan. Cristobal would have been a good answer too there. So very cool, you guys. You all did a fantastic job. And let's move along here. This is the end of the presentation, guys. Thank you again for sticking with us up to the end here. We always like to give each country our own rating of expat compatibility. And if you've joined us for the previous ones, we're gonna give the little same disclaimer again. It's very subjective. These are based off of our experiences. These are based off of the things we've learned and the challenges we have faced along the way. So here you can see those are the top kind of areas that we covered today, and we gave overall a score of 93, which is about an A- if you're looking at report cards. But and there's
it comes from your teacher days.
Yeah.
It's
the perfect teacher.
I can't help it. But I mean, obviously,
one thing I did want to say about the safety here, and it rated lower here. We were trying to be fair with the rating. But the one thing that I really do want to mention that I didn't earlier about safety is, I mean, there's a KFC, right? I think La Ceiba was the first city in the world to get a 2-story KFC. There's Pizza Hut. There's all these different North American chains, most of which do a lot of their research before coming down to these countries. But the main one, whether you like the company or not, whether you would shop there or not, is Walmart. Walmart doesn't put millions, tens of millions of dollars into stores in an area unless they really believe that it's a safe place to be in. And there is a Walmart in La Ceiba, and I think that those are very telltale things about, you know, safety. I mean, regardless of what you hear on the news, you know, Walmart's not moving into a dangerous place. So and you know, that is always kind of bumps up these safety numbers in my mind. I'm always comfortable, as much as I'm not a huge fan of shopping at Walmart. I'm a fan of when they move into a city, because I know they've done their research. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And at the end of our series, we'll have like a complete comparison of how each country ended up ranking. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. And are you considering other countries in the region? Go ahead and join us in the coming weeks. We do have a poll here for you guys. Which countries, what other countries in the Central American region are you considering, or are you considering? Maybe you're not even considering other ones. Maybe you've already decided Honduras is your spot, which is fantastic, but maybe you're kind of doing some research, doing your own due diligence, and trying to find a place that fits your needs and fits your end goal. And I love watching these polls go, because
it's wild to watch them live. It's it's a race. It's like watching a horse race or something. Every single one of them had votes. So.
Yeah,
right.
all of them.
Yeah, everybody.
That's good.
I love that you guys are looking in the region, which is really, really exciting. And I just love to know, you know, what about each country sparks your interest? Isn't that it's everyone has something a little bit different to offer, even though they're very similar. They are all very close, at least. All right, so the highest rated was Nicaragua. Very cool. I love that you're open-minded to Nicaragua. That's very cool. Panama came in second there. Let's see, looks like El Salvador came next, behind then Mexico, and then Belize and, oh, I'm sorry, Costa Rica, and then Belize and Guatemala ranked at the bottom together, which there's no real bottom in this poll. Let's just be honest. It's just based off of preference. But very cool to see, again, just the diversity and the thinking with the folks on the line here with us today. So that is it. Join us in the coming weeks. Again, we do have that 4 steps to planting your flag in another country. This is going to be very specific. We are going to tell you what to do as far as what your next step should be. And again, this was based off of the feedback that we were getting from our polls and conversations after our previous webinars about people asking us, what do we do next? Like, this was great. I'm glad you did the country webinar, but I've decided, and now I'm ready to do the next thing. So that one is going to be next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then we will talk about El Salvador, which was quite popular in our poll, and then on to Mexico, and then rounding out the end there with Costa Rica. So make sure to join us. I do see we have a few questions, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those up here. And in the meantime, if you did have some questions you wanted to add, go ahead and get those in now so that we can get them answered for you. All right. Let's see, can you go fishing from the reef? Great question. Can you fish from the reef?
In fact, you could fish from the top of your deck on your home if you can cast pretty well. You're very close to the water, and yeah, there's fish everywhere there. But there's obviously areas that are more. There's not too far down from where the reef is, so like a mile or so. There's where a river runs in. Of course, there's always more fish when there's rivers running into the ocean to bring nutrients into the waters and things. So plus you could have a little a little dinghy or whatever you wanted, a full-size boat, whatever you wanted. I know Jeff has a boat there. Jeff is the owner of the reef property, the Grand Atlantida. There's a boat there. He spends a lot of time going out to the Bay Islands. So yeah, there's great fishing around there.
Very cool. That's good to know. And that's not something that we really addressed. So great question. Is the reef, oh, we have some interest in this, in the reef here. Is the reef close to town?
Yes, I think officially is what, 9 miles or something like from La Ceiba. Now, La Ceiba is a really nice city. Like I said, they have all sorts of North American food chains and things like that. But then of course they have their own, which is places I like to eat at. But there's a golf course there. There's the airport there. You're 9 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes
15
maybe
minutes
from the airport.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those really rare spots in my mind. Like on the Caribbean, you always have the blue water and white sand kind of on the Caribbean. That's special in itself. But to be close to an airport, be close to mountains. First of all, mountains are not that common on the Caribbean beaches.
That view is amazing.
Yeah.
One side is the ocean and the other side are the mountains and the jungle.
Yeah, so for us, we were, when we were talking about getting a home at the reef, it's like, look, we can, for under $100,000, we can have a home that was going to likely have very good rental return. You can sit on your deck and look out at the ocean on one side, and you can turn your head a little bit and look at the mountains. And you've got within a couple hundred feet, you've got monkeys arguing in the trees, and it's, to me, it's a very cool spot. I'm a big fan of monkeys. Anyway.
I knew the monkeys would come up.
Eventually, I was going to talk about monkeys.
Arguing.
Okay, great. So, and then one more question here. So would you recommend that this person visit Roatan or the mainland, or maybe both?
Both, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, when it comes, this is my opinion, when it comes to living somewhere, I kind of prefer being on the mainland because you can, always get in a car and drive wherever you want.
And the cost of living.
The cost of living is lower. I've lived on a number of islands, from Vancouver Island to Ambergris Caye and to Sunshine Coast in Canada and different places. And when you're on an island, sometimes, you do get a little island fever. So to me, they're beautiful places to visit, and it depends on the island, the size of them and everything and what they have on it as well. But I would visit both. Roatan is a beautiful island. Utila, those Bay Islands, there. And you can see them from the reef. You can look out and you can see the islands. So you're not very far away. You can take a short puddle jumper flight, or you can get on the ferry, which is a little over an hour. Of course, it's always beautiful going on a ferry over Caribbean waters. So it's the kind of thing you can go. They have an early morning one and an evening one, so you can spend a day on Roatan if you want, or fly into Roatan, spend some time there, come across to La Ceiba or Trujillo or wherever you want.
It's very close to go from one side to the other. You can go in a ferry or in a jet.
And of course, like taking into consideration, if you are bringing kids and you want them close to activities and schools and things like that, that's important too. So very cool. Well, you guys, I think we might have gotten this one a little shorter, but not by much.
98% the length of the last one.
But thank you for sticking around and in going through the wonderful country of Honduras with us today. We hope to have some more conversations with you guys, but make sure to keep an eye out for that follow-up email. It will have the full recording. It will have the what did you call it? The Bat God. It will have the post about the Bat God. It will also have the link to register for the 4 Steps webinar inside, so that if that is something you're interested in joining us for, it is on Tuesday, not Thursday of next week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. You can go ahead and mark it in your calendar. But so keep an eye out for that follow-up email, and we'll make sure you have all the details going forward. So cheers to you all. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.